my best friend was murdered. We were 19 years old. I mean, he was there. We were together when he was brutally slaughtered. This is his name, Deva, and in memory of him. So later on, I end up taking revenge, and that was when I went in for 6.5 years in prison.
I was on drugs. I took drugs. Then after a while, I started to sell drugs. When I was in prison, my ex-wife, I went through a divorce. Ever since I went into prison, actually, God came and changed my life.
I see myself as not just myself, but every one of my guys as forerunners. AOL tries to capture the spirit of brotherhood and family. I mean, this is what a gang is supposed to do.
Welcome back to Point Blank. I have with me another youth organisation, and this one is targeted specifically at youths at risk.
Architects of Life is a organisational platform where we sort of recruit ex-offenders, ex-criminals, to give them a place of belonging and purpose as well. We hope to gather a group of people, like-minded people, who have a passion and a heart to reach out people like themselves, because they know the kind of people, they know the kind of struggles and setbacks in life that they identify with this at-risk youth who probably have gone through the same issues of life as they had before. But this group of people, actually, they have overcome these setbacks, and they now live with a sense of destiny and purpose in trying to go upstream, into school levels and education levels to try to reach out to this kind of people. One of the key philosophies of Architects of Life actually is that we are trying to harness what seems or deems by society as negative traits, behavioral traits, antisocial behavior, and harness that energy, negative energy, channel it into something positive. We call it the strengths approach. So one of that would be to even redeem some of the redemptive features in, for example, gangs. So we operate very much like a gang. That philosophy still stays with us, although now it's what I call a pseudo quasi-gang.
A positive sort of gang.
Yes, alternative, so to speak. After all, every human being, some of their basic needs would be to have a place of belonging or a sense of acceptance and purpose as well. And a gang actually provides that. Although, suffice to say that the gangs, the secret societies that a lot of young people, get involved in are actually negative, yeah. And because of that, society sees it as negative. They ostracize, they readily marginalize this group of people without realizing that some of those features can be tapped for good.
Mark and David are in Glenn's gang.
Yes,
right.
yeah.
And this gang is called Architects of Life. Yeah, your gang leader, your Indian chiefs, huh?
Yeah.
I met Glenn in 2007. It was when I was still in prison. I was in prison for trafficking, consumption, and consumption. I was inside for 4 years. Then I met him. First time I met him was when he came to because I was in a prison school, so I met him in the prison school when he came to do a sharing. And when I saw him sharing about his past and how he overcome his past and what he's doing now, I was inspired by his life. And then when he started this Architects of Life and he came to interview us, and I was very enthusiastic to join him. So in 2008, I was released in May. I've been with him, this so-called gang. We've been together, and he's been giving us those mentoring skills, teaching us mentoring skills. And this gang, actually, for me, is more like a family, because he cares about us. He'll be there for us, and he's helped us a lot. And then he'll bring us, provide this platform for us also to help others. Like recently, we go to schools to give them camps to schools and going out to teachers to tell them about our past and to share our testimony. From there, I think it's very different from my last time in life, because last time I would be maybe 18 hours a day will be all drugs. So now I'm different from the past, is that I'm actually reaching out to help others.
I was in prison for the second time around, which was around 6.5 years. all my teenage life, and I was doing my N levels, O levels, A levels, and we are in Kaki Bukit Prison School. So they invite speakers and all this, like what Mark here was sharing. So actually, not only us, but the whole prison school was inspired by Glenn's life. He gives us hope through doing all these good works and living a life positively. So, in fact, when he came, when he was initiating this organization thing, so he reached out to the program officers who can select for him kind of those who are academically good as well as in terms of character. So he came for the interview, and we managed to pass the interview to join him. And it's also something that is very close to my heart, because all my life I want to serve others. In a way, that's why I'm studying psychology, to do counseling and all this. So my heart is to serve others, and that was the same purpose he has, to reach out to others.
Did you find it difficult to speak into these two young men's lives?
No, not at all. Because one of my selection criteria, and I do have a stringent criteria, was that they demonstrated not just academically but character as well as leadership, and also their willingness and their hunger to see their own lives transform and touching others as well. So those were my selection criteria for what I call my top tier mentors. So in a sense, we are mentoring the mentors right now. After all, Architects of Life operates through the premise of a mentoring framework. That's where the leaders or the gang leaders, so to speak, begins to mentor others as well. And that whole process is multiplied exponentially. Just a few weeks or even the last few months, both of them have been sharing their stories, touching many other people through different various platforms. For example, both of them have shared at my parents' workshop. I've conducted many parents' workshops and seminars. And what always gets to them is not the theory or the content. Many of the parents' feedback was that they have been so inspired, so filled with hope, because real life stories like theirs, like mine, have sought to give them that hope, to say, hey, my own child can also, there's hope for him. He can change, he can transform. A youth, no matter how at risk he is, no matter how disenfranchised he is, there's always a potential, many possibilities for him to excel through his life story, which has been touched and transformed. And that's what we hope to seek to do.
Right, okay. So, Mark, for you are doing a lot of youth work, talking to parents, to teachers, handling workshops. But how was life before? What was the turning point that, that's making you the man you are today? It's such a stark contrast. Share with us the before part of your story.
The before, I was more into the gang and then into drugs. And
what was the worst thing that happened?
The worst thing that happened?
Yeah. Let me just tell us the story of one of the worst things that happened to you, and then you sort of landed in jail.
I think this case was for drugs. So it was like I was on drugs. I took drugs. Then after a while, I started to sell drugs. So when I was caught, I was sentenced for trafficking. And then it was 6 years, but after remission, I was there for 4 years. Then when I was in prison, my ex-wife, I went through a divorce. So that also made me wake up a lot. Then ever since I went into prison, actually God came and changed my life. So, and He let me reflect a lot of my past, where all I was thinking was for myself and for my own enjoyment. I do not care about others, and I will always go for a fight, and I have a very bad temper in the past. But then, after knowing God, He strengthened me a lot. And even through the divorce at the time, He gave me the strength to go through everything. Then during that when I was inside, I started to reflect. And I thought, do I still want to live in those kind of life? So I thought I must walk out of those kind of life. And it's time to change. Do I still want to be so-called in SS? And then when I grow old, will I be poor? And my life can't help anyone at all. So basically, the change now is that I think helping others and sharing my life with others give me great satisfaction, and seeing those youth making a U-turn in their life. I'm very happy for them because I think I do not want them to go through a life that I've gone through. And I think, past you asked me to reach out to other people, help others. I think there will be no way. But now I'm very excited and enthusiastic about it.
So which specific program of Glenn was it that helped you, in your time while you were in prison and all that?
I think when I was in prison, every around 2 weeks or 1 week, he will come down and will give us a mentoring workshop where he will teach us a lot of things and do a lot of reflection. The relationship between him and us is like, it's not just a group or organization, it's more like a family. So even like recently, when I was facing a lot of problems, it's just like yesterday he just met up with me and he will ask me, how am I? I'm like, what's happening in my life? He will care for us, and then he will pray for me also. So to me, it's more like a family instead of an organization.
How about you, David? What's the story behind the person you are today? How was your life spent before prison, and what changed?
My life previously was totally meaningless. I was full of my whole life was about friends and gang, because I did not find the source of love and attention from my family. So that's where I came to seek the friends, gangs, to the source of support from them. So it eventually turned out too bad that we got into a fight, and it ended up my best friend was murdered. We were 19 years old. I mean, he was there. We were together when he was brutally slaughtered in the streets.
What happened? What was the incident?
We were just hanging around in Strangle Road. So we were ambushed in the middle of morning 3 a.m. So so he was brutally murdered on the streets. This is his name, Deva, and in memory of him, because he's my best friend. And that was the first time I ever cried for someone. And because he was so dear to me. So later on, I end up taking revenge, and that was when I went in for 6.5 years in prison. But all things turned out for good, because I did my N levels, O levels, A levels in prison. But I think academic, it really helped me. But the main thing is about love, which I know family showed me, the help from my friends and insight, and especially it comes. A turning point came when I came to know God as well. That's when my real turning point. Because when I go in, my heart was still the old way. You still have gangs inside. You still meet your old friends. You still have the old enemies there. So your life really never changed unless you make the stand to change. So, with alone making the stand, it won't be easy. So with the source of support from Christian counselors and all these people there, so I was really encouraged, and they shaped my life in the process. And I can go to the extent, to one of the words it says, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you. And I managed to meet those who killed my best friend inside, and we were friends. We managed to hug each other, pray for one another. We were enemies killing one another outside, but now we are so close.
We were roommates in Kaki Bukit Center prison school, and same room for 1.5 years, or about 1.5 years. We were studying A levels at the same time.
Very close, because we spur one another on. So, and not only that, we study together, we learn from one another. We're staying in a dormitory, and apart from that, we also spend time having fellowship, praying for one another. And there are many times, there are times when I was sick and he prayed and he even cried for me. We are strangers now, but because of this God that we are now together, there's someone who can even cry for me. This is the love that I needed, that I can find from this kind of people, you see.
This is exactly what AOL tries to capture, the spirit of brotherhood and family that they mention all the time. I mean, this is what a gang is supposed to do.
Okay, how do you feel about having come so far since your days, as you described, your days of darkness, and now you're helping youths, and you are almost graduating in a few months' time?
I see myself as not just myself, but every one of my guys as forerunners in this industry, so to speak, paving the way, blazing the trailblazing the way for other people behind us, other generations of ostracized, marginalized people, of people who were once on the edge or disenfranchised, disregarded by society, and say, hey, we can actually live our life with all its possibilities and potential. We can realize our potential.
Well, this has been a story of overcomers, of overcoming the odds. Yeah, for all the youths out there who are watching this program as well, we also find that, there is much more to life. And even if we make mistakes in life, there's still a road ahead.